back out here at Pendle Farms. So we have one main section of fence row that still needs to be cleaned up. So last time we were out here, we got like this piece of cherry, and there's a piece of red oak here. So we kind of got this fence line opened up, and just have a little bit of stuff we kind of need to clean up around it, but for the most part it's not too bad. The biggest thing left is all of this over here, stuff that got uprooted, and it's down this pretty good bank. So I have to kind of make a path around to it so we can get down in here. But dead ash tree here, so that'll be easy to get off the fence. I think we already cut it. So what's left is the shagbark, this piece of red oak, and I think over there is a piece of walnut, or one of these two is. There's two uprooted trees here, one there and one over there. So I think we're going to start. We talked about cutting the fence so that whenever we start working on getting this stuff cut, we don't tear up the fence anymore. You can see here it uprooted that. Whenever this tree fell, it uprooted this post, and I have kind of the wire all tangled in that. May work on getting that wire cut so that we can kind of get it down, and then whenever we pull on this stuff, we aren't pulling on additional pieces of the fence. So it's kind of the plan as of right now. A lot of good lumber in definitely this one here, that one, and then I think that one over there is actually the piece of walnut. So we have a lot of good wood here that we can get out for the sawmill and be able to make lots of boards. So just have to start getting a path down here. Probably start by getting this piece out just so it's out of the way, get it pulled up, and then can start working on the tops and then work our way back in. So I think that's kind of the plan, and just kind of start working through this stuff to get it all opened up and off his fence. And there's another piece there that broke out of that tree.
And then come through there maybe?
Yeah, that's how you could get this top out and that shag out. So as we kind of discussed there in the intro, kind of trying to find exactly how we want to get down to some of these trees and start pulling these out. So we found a good spot here that we can kind of get opened up. So start by getting some of the brush that I had initially put there, just kind of get moved out of the way, get it moved over into a burn pile. Just need to get this opened up enough we can really get the 62 in there without being hit every time, so I have to cut a few limbs down just to open this spot up. It's going to be a spot where we pull I think a piece of shag hickory along with a piece of walnut out, so it's going to be used several times, so we want to open it up enough that we can really utilize that. And then kind of getting our piles established here, so I have an area where we've been putting firewood, the burn piles off to the side, and then have a spot where we'll put some logs that will be sawmill worthy, whether we get to use them on the sawmill or they're sellable, like some of the walnut may be in good enough shape that it can be sold. So start by trying to just pull up the hill, and with the area being a little wet, just spinning tires. So end up having to use the hoe with the outriggers down and kind of pull this up in a couple different sections. And then once it's up on the flat, I can actually just drag it over. So this is one of the decent walnuts we had. And I had to pull it out in between 10 and 12 foot sections. I tried to leave it as long as possible. But just with how we had to do it as far as pulling it up, kind of had to, play it by ear on how we could get that. And then here, this walnut forked off, So able to split it up. Here's kind of a time lapse from how we pulled that last piece up, kind of how long it is, and you can kind of get a little bit better sense of the hill there. Since we got some of that taken care of, there's a hickory here that got uprooted. So I worked on getting it cut from the root ball that uprooted, and do the same method. I ended up having the choker on the tree along with 3 or 4 sections of chain to get down to this area. And again, we had to cut it into about 10-12 foot sections to be able to really get it pulled out. Here's another one that we did. Had another group of chains to get this out. So got those all strung and then able to pull this out section by section of the chain. And then once it's up high enough, we can actually get hooked to the tractor, just pull it on out. So I have to do this for several of them because of how steep this is, and just need to get some of the treetops and stuff cleared out first before getting the others. And see, this is kind of the method that we continue to use for all of these. Once it's up here, we get it trimmed out to pieces that can be firewood, They can go on the mill, and then the tops that will just go on the burn pile. So get those separated out and use the grapple to move them around. So I finally gotten to the point where I have what we can from that hillside and really need to make a path around. And right here, this tree was in the way. So get it taken out, and then it's steep enough that not able to just drive. So basically start working on cutting a bit of a road here, filling in on the downhill side, and just getting a path established so that we can get to the red oak, the walnut, and the poplar that's down there. So while the grapple isn't 100% effective at moving dirt, it does a really good job at cutting into the hillside. As long as you can get your back tires pretty flat so you're cutting flat, it works fairly well. That can be the one issue with the 62 is with the wider bucket, and you're making a bigger cutting path. So it's really important to have the back tires flat, or else you can get a pretty good tilt to your path. But get this eaten out enough that pretty comfortable driving the 62 there, and can use it as a path to pull out these additional logs we need to get to. Here, just working on kind of trying to pack some of the dirt on the downhill side. Ended up having to fill quite a bit there. So just trying to pack that in and then back drag to kind of fill in some of the divots. But once that's done, able to get this pulled up and then kind of pull this up this direction. End up finding that going straight is a little bit better. It's a straight path. There is a pretty good hill there that I can't just drive out of going forward, so I have to set up at the top of the hill, use the backhoe to drag it up, and then once it's kind of up, I can then hook to it and just pull. So kind of becomes a tedious process on some of these, just with the way the land laid and how big some of these logs were, not being able to just pull them straight out, and with the hill to the left here being decent sized, had to use the hoe quite a bit to pull stuff out and then be able to drag it. So here is an example of had to unhook and then back up to it and then drag this up the hill, get it kind of to the flat, and then able to drag it and use the grapple to move it to our pile. So this is a pretty heavy piece of red oak. See, it's kind of tipping the tractor, but get it over to the pile. That one we may have to cut in half later on to get on a trailer. But we got that initial piece out, and the stumps there on the left that is uprooted. End up just leaving it. I can't get it to lay back over, so I do a little bit of clearing to take this out with the grapple, so that we can get to the next section of that red oak tree. So we found that when a tree is kind of up like this, that we can use the wedges to drive in there to help stop the saw from getting pinched. So while he's sawing, I can drive these in, kind of keep this open. Kind of using a couple of them, kind of like at the angle I put at. Seems to work fairly well. Again, like these plastic poly ones, just because if your saw does happen to kick back up, you just get into the plastic instead of metal. So there, that let them get through. It dropped a little bit, and those will fall out whenever I drag this log out. So I have some other treetops there that were intertwined, and then had fence that was there. So ended up getting all that fencing. Ended up cutting the fence and just winding it up and setting it on another pole so that that could be repaired at a later date, and it would make pulling all this out a whole lot easier. The wire was actually stuck in the root ball he just cut there off this poplar, and it pulled one of the fence posts out of the ground. So went ahead and just cut that, and can do a repair on that at a later date. So here you can kind of see what I talked about, having to do multiple pulls to be able to drag it, to then pull it up the hill, to then get it in the grapple and add it to our pile. Okay, this next section of poplar here, have to work it around the root and get it drug up. But these are pretty decent sized logs here, so we'll be able to get quite a bit of boards out of these. Okay, so this is a walnut tree that was also uprooted, so he gets that cut and the stump lays back down on that. Get the tractor set up to kind of get it pulled over. So there's a fence post kind of over that direction where the fence is still up. So we get it pulled over to where we cut the fence so we can kind of get it drug up. This is one of the last logs that we pull out, and it's about 33 feet long, I believe. It's not near as big, so we're able to kind of pull it out in one section. Kind of a look in a similar spot. There's one across here. That's where the big red oak was. Over there, that's where that shag hickory was. So what we did was we created a road around over there that you saw, so we could get down to some of the stuff, pulled the walnut from there, poplar, and kind of got as much cleaned up as we could.
You can put the fence back up anyway.
Yeah.
If he really wants to get in there, sometime when it's really dry and clean up, and just cut the fence and go through.
Well, and like some of the smaller stuff, I wonder if you couldn't use the winch.
Could up.
If that would actually be easier, where you could get up there. Definitely if you had it mounted on that big tractor where you're not going to pull it around. I'd say on this, but you'd probably pull it over the edge depending on the size. Having this road created will also help him get back to the fence line here to be able to repair that fence. Not sure if it broke out of the top. Huh?
No, I was trying to find the end of it.
Nope, there it is. I see the
It's
stump.
balled up. Well, if he doesn't have the fence back up, next time we come over, we could put that stuff away and then pull it out.
Created a brush pile there and have one over there. Those will just eventually burn, so that's the tops. Put any firewood in that one right there. And then all of this stuff over here is straight enough that we'll be able to mill it. So it's a combination of red oak, walnut, poplar, hickory, varying size, and everything. So that's all that was down in there. I think the shortest one's about 12 foot and then goes up to about 24. So have lots of wood that we can come get and run to the sawmill and give him some boards if he wants some boards. That chicken coop right up there is one of the things that he wants to redo, and so we'll use some of the poplar for that, so we'll mill boards and he'll rebuild that. So it's kind of what we're looking at. A lot of work, and pretty productive day though, getting that all cleaned out. So that's all we got for today. Later at some point, definitely when it dries up, we'll come back and we'll get some of those logs to take back to the homestead to mill. So that's it for today. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. We'll catch you next time.